Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome to Fresh Regarded, episode 299.1. Now, I just wanted to make a quick no, can't think of the word. Preface, I don't know. Note, pre-episode note. Oh, disclaimer. Just want to make a quick disclaimer. Like, why are we calling it 299.1? The quick disclaimer is that, okay, so Sam is coming for episode 300. He's coming to Dubai. We're doing, not a huge thing, but we're doing episode 300 together, me and Sam in person. And those of you who are new to Fresh Grounded, Sam is the co-founder of Fresh Grounded. If you watch the first 100 episodes of Fresh Grounded, it was just me and Sam. And so we do episodes, obviously. I mean, you all know who Sam is. So because he was coming for episode 300, we timed it kind of perfectly so that he comes on the week of episode 300. We didn't know at the time that we were going to start doing these extra episodes. And so now we don't want to not do episode 300. So, I mean, this was technically episode 300, but it wasn't, okay? So for the next few weeks until Sam's here, we're just going to do it like this because we just do not want to not have episode 300 how we planned it. Anyway, enjoy the episode. Assalamu alaikum. Kaya, did you notice that a few episodes back that, I don't know if it was last episode or a few episodes back, but somebody in the comments thought that your name was Kyle?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I was thinking, should I correct that? It's like...
That is so worth correcting.
I made it like that. Sometimes it's nice to be humble elusive. Like that. These people that elusive, but also just no one knows you. No one knows your name. That's good. That's how you want to be. You want to be unknown a little bit. I like the fact that people don't really know my name that much. And one of the things that, when you first asked me many moons ago, if I wanted to come on and be more regular, that was one of the things that was on my mind. It was do I want to be known like that? Not even from a piety perspective, because I'm not pious like that. But inshallah, it was like that as well. But just from a pure standpoint of do I want to be spotted on the street, and, it's Kyle, and they can't do it. It's you know what I mean? Do I want that? I don't know.
I think it's too late for that, man.
What's that?
You're well known in the industry now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about that, but I mean, I don't want to be known on the street, type of thing. I still don't know if I want that, but here we are.
Yeah, you know what? I'm most of the people that I know that are have a public persona, in some way their name is incorrect. Whether they spelled it wrong, or they haven't revealed their last name, or they haven't revealed their actual first name and stuff like that. And I think that's one regret that I have is not in some way masking. But I was really young. I was I came into YouTube and stuff when I was maybe 21. So I didn't know anyone in the space yet, and so maybe that advice wasn't given to me. But if anybody is ever gonna do anything publicly, I would say either at the very least spell your name wrong.
Do you reckon? What would you have chosen your name as?
I would have
differently.
Yeah, I would have probably, I would have probably spelled my name Faisal still. I would have called myself Faisal, but I would have either done what probably would have done is just spelled my last name wrong, because Chowdhury can be spelled so many different ways. In fact, the way my name is spelled Chowdhury is actually I've not seen almost anybody ever spell my name. So I could get away with it being CHAUDHRY and nobody would bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, man. With when your name is your name, let's say for example you have a bank account with NatWest, and somebody works at NatWest, they could just check your banking and stuff. It just feels a bit you don't think about these things.
True.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I may.
They're gonna see all of my minus. They're gonna see all of my overdraft.
Yeah. I think that what you just said though, about having a persona. I think, and it kind of links to what I've got in an ENAT doc, which is this whole blitzkrieg thing. I'm trying not to, in these parts of my life, do things half, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And maybe it will make more sense when I explain what this blitzkrieg thing is, But in this particular example, it's okay, should I go public but have a persona? For example, many times I've gone on podcasts. I think FG, the first episode I did, I said just put my first name, don't put my second name, right? And I think I did that with I did that with Mind Ties as well. I think I continue to do that with Mind Ties here. I just say to just do my first name. So anyway, before I continue, should I talk about this whole blitzkrieg thing? Are you interested?
Yeah, tell us what it is, yeah.
All right, so sometimes I watch these like history documentaries and like war, like old battles and stuff from way back when, this and that, because it's interesting. Yeah? And I realized, or I was listening to one documentary and I'm talking about this whole blitzkrieg thing. And basically it was this concept invented by, or they say it was invented by, Allah knows best, Napoleon, the French commander. Back then, when you were fighting a war or a battle, you had your army, like a man with short sword and shield and stuff, and the guy on the other side. There's like two lines meeting each other, right? Like just they come together. The common tactic back then was to outflank your enemy. So like spread yourself wide and try to outflank them. In other words, go round their side to get to the back. When you're in the back, you can attack them from the back, attack their supply chains, whatever, right?
Okay.
So that was so everyone for hundreds of years apparently was trying to outflank each other. Whenever you go to war, who could outflank who? Who can sort of spread themselves widest to get round, right? That was the thing. Then apparently the narrative is Napoleon came along and said, we're going to do the complete opposite. We're actually going to compact all our guys, not try to outflank, and just smash through the middle, right? So we use that. So instead of like trying to be cute about it and sort of spread ourselves thin, we'll go straight through the middle. And apparently the Germans in World War II used the same tactic and they had a lot of success with it. And Napoleon had a lot of success with it.
Okay.
And so basically you bring everyone together, you sort of bring the forces together in one and you smash through the middle. And so when I heard that, I was like, firstly, that is obviously very simple, but clearly very effective. And no one really thought about it before that point, apparently. And I was thinking, how else can I do that? Like, how else can I because I feel like a lot of time when I try to do things, like again, going on podcasts maybe, or trying to implement healthy eating or exercise, I try to be cute about it. I try to sort of outflank myself. To fix my diet, I will. All right, if I'm eating 3,000 calories a day, I'll cut it down to 2,500 for the first week, and then I'll drop it down to a bit more. I'll try and be cute about it and strategize and meal plan and this and that. And I end up not doing it, or I end up just doing too much and not doing what needs to be done. So instead, what I'm trying to do is just say, all right, cool. I'm making a decision. Tomorrow, I'm eating 1 meal a day, or just 2 meals a day from tomorrow. Like, there's no strategy around it. Just go straight to the end. So that's what I'm trying to be with swimming, for example. Right? I stopped swimming for a while because I got ill. And I was like, oh, maybe I should work my way up to it. I'll just do 2 laps today, and then next week I'll go up to 4 again, and I'll get back to 8. And then it's like, bro, just don't strategize. Don't overthink this and try to make it, spread yourself thinner to try and get to the end goal. Just go, if you were doing 8 laps before you were ill, or 8 lengths, should I say, just do the same thing on the first day. Like, if it's difficult, it's difficult, but you'll get there and you'll get to your end goal faster, and you'll stop doing this whole back and forth thing, which really and truly is just procrastination and laziness masked in strategy. That's what it really is.
This sounds like the real life version of button bashing.
What's that?
What? Button bashing.
Yeah, on if you're playing PlayStation, you're playing
Mortal Kombat.
You're playing the UFC game, and you don't have to do the ground game on UFC, so you just button bash until you tap someone.
Yeah. But how many times did that win? Innit? You just smash him B, and it's you're punching him up, yeah. Or yeah. So that's what I sort of heard it in that history documentary, and I'm trying to sort of apply that to the place of my life where I'm being lazy or procrastinating. And I'm masking it in strategy. I'm masking it in, how can I sort of outsmart myself to do this thing? It's like, bro, just do it. Just stop trying to think about ways to do it and tactics, and just do it today. So that kind of, when you said that, I was like, if I'm going to put myself out there, should I sort of half bake it and just do I'll call myself K Dot and hope no one knows who I am. It's like, mate, if you're going to do it, just do it properly and take the sort of pros and cons with it type of thing. That's I'm trying to lean towards that, I think, because I think it has more benefit and ROI. Yeah.
What are you afraid of? If your name is out there, what are you necessarily afraid of?
That's it. That's a very good question.
The factor that kind of discourages you.
Well, I think if you're, for example, somebody who is controversial, or people might take your opinions controversially, or you have a job to sustain yourself in your living, but then you also have an online persona, all of these things, perhaps for example, let's say you're a teacher and you're also on social media, which most people are, it'd be in your best interest that your students can't find you on social media. So you'd want to kind of have a bit of a different name. Not a different name, but maybe different spelling. I mean, but then there's the argument nowadays, like it's gone too far. Like it's hard to like hide yourself.
Yeah. Again, it's like I think if you're going to do that, there's definitely some exceptions to the rule. For teachers is definitely the one to like think twice about. But I think if you're going to do anything like that, you kind of have to have a word with yourself. You have to be like, look, what's the worst case scenario from this? Okay, I go on this podcast and I say something controversial, and my job finds out. And you need to be able to be comfortable to like say, okay, I'm going to have this persona online. And worst case scenario, if somehow it gets me sacked, am I okay with that? Can I handle that? Like, am I willing to risk that? If the answer is yes, then do it. If the answer is no, then don't. I would say don't even do it. Then don't even do the half-baked thing, because really, like, you're probably going to get found out anyway. Like, if your face is on there, it doesn't really matter about your name, to be honest. People will find you from your face. So, yeah, that's where I'm leaning towards right now. What do you think?
I don't know. I think I'm still on the opinion that like there's no harm in just having like a slight, like there's so many disadvantages to people knowing your full name, your actual name. But then sometimes if you get famous enough, like they know it anyway. Like nobody, Jay-Z can't hide his full name.
That's what I'm saying.
Jay-Z. Yeah. You got to point there, I guess.
It's kind of like, if you're on that road.
If you're going to be as famous as, like, let's be honest, we are, then you can't hide anyway.
Faisal and Kyle over here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're going to be this famous, like, forget about it.
It's true. Yeah.
Is there any famous person that exists where people don't actually know their real name, like other than Banksy, but then nobody knows Banksy's identity, so it's not really the same.
Yeah. Exactly. Banksy could be like a gang of people for all we know. It's kind of like if you're going to put yourself on the road to potentially being that famous, to potentially being that known, then you kind of have to have. I feel like you have to have that discussion with yourself, like before you put out your first video. What if I do blow up and like I get mad famous, and can I handle that? Do I want that?
But I do know people.
Who thinks of that? Like at the stage of their first video, who would really think of that?
Yeah, I do know people that are way bigger than Freshly Rounded that have done that and have managed to keep that. Like, they're not hiding their name necessarily, but they just don't have their real name on socials.
I guess it does offer some level of protection, like but it's a very surface level, man. Like,
yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? Like,
if someone really wants to find out, I'm sure they could.
Yeah. That's it.
Like, and those are the people that you probably want to stay away from, right? In terms of your identity and stuff. But if they really want to find out, I'm sure they.
Yeah, but this is the problem with the internet. With the internet, you don't really get to choose like who's watching. That's the thing. Like, if it's out there, it's out there. And if anything, you have to sort of say to yourself, like, the worst case scenario is the people who I really don't want to see this end up seeing it, or people who are going to give me whatever, like. They're jealous people, or they're just not nice people, or they're going to be people who misinterpret me. You have to say, okay, worst case scenario type people, who will they watch it? How would they react? What's the worst case scenario? Yeah, but it's a tough question, man. I mean, if you think that way too much as well, you can talk yourself out of doing anything as well. So you have to be comfortable with worst case scenario, and then of course tawakkul, just rely on Allah. If you think it's going to be good for you, then do it, and qadar Allah.
Yep. Right. I think we've drained the juice out of that one as much as we can.
Yeah.
Back to the ENAC. We've done 15 minutes of. All right, let me just quickly, guys, restart my laptop because my camera's being super slow. So, if you guys, I don't know how we're going to do this. Like,
I did kind of have that as well. Like, but it is better now. I had the slowness, but it's gone now.
Oh, did you? My lag is really bad though, isn't it?
Oh, really? No, you look fine to me. I think it's on your end, fine. But for us, you look okay.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, well, let's leave it then. As long as my audio is not affected. So, okay, Only, did you have anything cool to tell us about or not?
No, I was going to ask you guys if you want to hear a funny story, but I really don't know if I should mention it.
Oh, bro, they're the best ones.
They have to be.
You got to say it now.
Is it halal?
Yeah, it's completely halal. I just feel very bad for the guy involved, man.
Just don't tell us who is involved. Just don't tell. Can you do it without telling us the identity of the person?
I don't know him like that.
Alright, so that means we don't know him, right?
I'm on the lookout for like a really good shawarma.
Okay.
I'm looking for like the best one, and I've got one in mind, which we go to as a family and stuff like that. We've been there for a long time and stuff. And so one of my friends on Friday, he said he knows a place that he really likes. He goes to it with family and stuff. Yeah. So we go and have the shawarma on Friday evening. Yeah. So I try the chicken one. And her?
Is it really bad?
No, it wasn't really bad. But I mean, if I took the lamb one home, my family might have disowned me. Like, the lamb one was not it. It's really
But
was
you
not
guys
it,
are a family of cooks and chefs, so it makes it harder.
Yeah, we're very particular. Excuse me, sorry. So we're very particular, yeah. And me specifically, I'm very particular with lamb. So I've walked into this place and I can already smell the lamb shawarma because it smells very fatty. So it's like more so than normal, and that's the kind of lamb I don't like. Yeah, when it's very fatty, like it tastes really fatty, and like that's all you can smell, that's all you can taste, and it overpowers everything in the roll, for example. So I have the chicken one. Chicken one's alright, you know, X, Y, Z, and then I try the lamb one, and I take one bite, and I'm like, oh, this is not it, man. Like, I can't do this. So I just wrap it back up, like looking like as if it's brand new. So then I say to my friend,
Where are we going with this now?
I said to my friend, bro, take this home because I'm not gonna have it. I can't take this home. It's borderline disrespectful for me to take it home to my family because I know my family's not gonna like it. Yeah, and it's just, why did you bring this home? It's not like it's it's not gonna, we're not gonna like it. Why did you bring it home? So anyway, so we're fighting over who's taking it home, and he goes, like, fine, let me grab it back. He doesn't want to take it home because his family doesn't really know that he's here eating shawarma because he was just at home eating dinner. So he's gone out for dinner straight after dinner. He's like, what are you doing? Right. So there's no Edgware Road. So I start walking with him. He's got the shawarma in his bag. And randomly, there's a guy in a thobe just walking past, yeah. And like, he sees me, I see him, I say salam alaikum to him. I don't know him, say salam alaikum, he says salam alaikum, and we just walk off, yeah. Just literally like a random exchange between Muslims, yeah. My friend, he didn't see the guy walk past, so he looks around and he's like, oh, who's that? Then he realizes he knows the guy. He's like, oh, salam alaikum, blah, blah, blah. I don't know him at all. And then so he says salam to me again. He goes, oh, he's a girl guy. And I was like, yeah, alhamdulillah, what's your name? We're exchanging greetings and stuff. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to get a shawarma. And my friend, forgetting what's happened, he goes, bro, we just had a shawarma. We don't know what to do with the shawarma. You take it. You take the shawarma home. So we forced him to take the shawarma home. He's going to get home, or he did maybe get home. He's opened it thinking he's got a lovely shawarma.
He's got a bite ticket out. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
I feel
that's
really
not
bad
good.
because my friend had forgotten that that's happened. But I knew in my head that that's happened, and I'm watching the whole exchange take place. I know there's a bite missing from the shawarma. And then go to someone else's home.
You should have said, man, like, by the way, bro, I have taken a bite. I have taken a bite.
Yeah, it just happened so quick. Like, we were just
I know what you mean. You don't know what to say.
Couldn't do anything.
The other day,
I feel really bad.
Go on.
The other day, me and my wife ordered waffles. You know, Kai, you know the place here called Waffle, WOFL? Oh, I told you about it, but you haven't had it yet, have you?
I had it, no.
It's really good. So we ordered some waffles, right? And this place called WOFL. It's like the best waffles. And the delivery came, and while I was upstairs, and then my wife was like, hurry up, come downstairs, let's eat. And then I came downstairs, and then I got my waffle, she had hers, and I was really excited. I just had to take a bite out of it, and she goes, hold on a second, is there a bite being taken out of it? And I look at it, bro, and it's a fat bite. I take out my waffle, yeah. And then it turned out it was her who took the bite, yeah. But for those... I was
going to say, was Ollie nearby at any point?
But for those few seconds when I thought the delivery driver took a bite of my waffle, I felt I didn't even feel angry. I felt betrayed, and I felt upset. Like I was like, how? Like why? Like just ask, and you can when you come to the door, tell man you want a bite of the waffle, and I'll give you a bite. G, like it's not every man for himself out here, but the fact that you didn't ask now. It just hurt, bro. So it turned out
that is the perfect word, man. Betrayal. That's exactly what happened.
I just felt betrayed, bro. Like I couldn't feel angry. It reminds me of when like we were studying Shakespeare in primary school, and we were learning about Macbeth, and I don't know why I've always remembered this by her. So I don't know, Macbeth's wife got killed or something, and then his boys were like, "Aren't you gonna go and like get the revenge for your wife?" And he was like, let me feel sad first and then I can feel angry. And that's how I felt about the waffle thing.
Yeah.
I felt like Macbeth. I was like, let me just feel sad and deep it, and then I can like call Deliveroo and be like, someone took a bite of my waffle. But yeah, that didn't happen. All right, so I've got something called the internet doc. So I've got
yeah, go for it.
do you know what? Let me just restart my laptop because it's just bugging me how like this lagginess. I know it's probably just on my end, but let me just restart. So I'm gonna restart it and then I'll tell you. I'll text you both when it's restarted, and then you can just call back on this link. Yeah. Okay, we're back on. Just waiting for Annalise to come. So yeah. In the meantime, I also threw on this fleece because I think one of the things that might be slowing my laptop down was the fact it's been on for like probably the whole day, and it might be hot. So I'll put my room on 19. I'll put my AC on 19 now. So
that's cold.
It's going to be cold in this room, but hopefully that keeps it cool.
Are you still using AC at nighttime?
No. Yeah, the AC in the corridor. So what I used to do is I used to put the AC on in the corridor and then leave my room door open, because the AC in the room, it would just be too cold. But that actually broke, and I've been meaning to get my AC serviced. So
yeah, there's not really much point now, is there? Like, it's literally
cooler.
like another week. You don't even need it at all, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. What happened on Lee? It was only 2 minutes.
Terrible. I didn't realize you had to come back. Because I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, and so I didn't get your text.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so fine. So in this, in the internet doc, I put punching above your weight. The global village thing I'll tell you about after this time. But yeah. So I was having this thought. I kind of briefly went over it with Only like before anyway, but I was thinking that I think there's like, we don't talk about something often enough, and that's that every person should be punching above their weight when it comes to their friendships. And what I mean by that in particular is it's a very bad sign if you're the most religious person in your friend group, or if you're the most pious person in your friend group. And I think if you are, right? And I think there's like there's certain circumstances where you can't avoid it, but like, for example, if you're newly practicing in a generally non-practicing household, you're going to be the most religious person in your household, or the most religious person in your family. And that's fine, because there's a role for you there to guide the people, or to like help the people in your family. But it's very dangerous if you're the most pious person in your friend circle, or like or like the people that you're always around, because you're potentially, helping others, but you're going to like that saying goes, like, don't be the candle that burns itself by lighting others, or something like that. It's going to be that kind of scenario. So you have to also look out for yourself. And so it's very important that people are checking who they're around, who they spend most of their time with, and try and hang on to the people who they admire, or who they inspire in terms of knowledge and in terms of like their religiosity. Because it really is true that's the kind of people that you become like, and that's the habits that you take on. And even in my own experience, when I've been around people who are, for example, like studying their hifth, like before you know it, you're doing your hifth. And then when you're around people who like, the Quran never really comes up as a conversation and stuff like that, you start losing the habit of the Quran. Or if, for example, it's the norm for them to avoid a certain type of conversation, you start avoiding those certain types of conversations. And then when you're around people who do have those kind of conversations, you start becoming like that as well. So yeah, the kind of like point and the overall note is, I believe that people should be punching above their weight when it comes to their friendships.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with it. I guess if I had to push back, I'd say like, having a balance is better. Like, you don't want to feel like, well, not you don't want to feel like, but you do want to benefit. You do want to be someone who can benefit others as well. So I feel like if you're also in a position where all your friends are like miles ahead of you in terms of like piety and stuff, you're kind of missing out on like guiding people, or missing out on like being a good example for people. But other than that, it's hard to disagree, man. Yeah, I mean, it can only bring you benefit to spend time with people who are better than you. Quite frankly. And what's that saying? You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, yeah.
Yeah, and also I remember it was either Hassan al-Basri or one of the Tabi'een who said, if someone is competing with you for the dunya, let them have it. and if someone is competing with you for the akhirah, race against them. And that's just the kind of friends that you want, isn't it? I think like naturally you will always have people around you who have different levels of religiosity, and I don't think you're ever going to be able to shake off having people around you that are less conscious of religion than you, because I think some people like that are forced into your life. Like I said, if you're coming from a non-practicing household, then obviously you can't lose ties with your family. Or I think people generally, like your friends, you're kind of on the same kind of journey as your friends, because that's how you pick friends. But I think my point is that it's important to try and pick one or two people at least in your life that you try and make an effort to like link regularly. So like there's a brother here in Dubai who I would deem, you probably know who I'm talking about, Kaya, like I would deem to be like miles ahead of me. Like I just love when I'm around him. I'm like, right, I need to fix up. And bro, to be honest, he's only ever he's a very busy man, but he's also a good friend. Like he's only ever a phone call away to be like, oh bro, I'm gonna come to your office and like just work from there with you or something like that, or like, are you free for dinner? Those little things, like having, I think, like half an hour with someone like that, sometimes, bro, like you leave feeling so inspired from those conversations. So yeah,
for sure, bro.
Thing that I heard in the khutbah once about how a lot of the prophets were shepherds, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And so being around sheep and stuff, their character was influenced by that kind of animal. And so the shepherd of camels has like a much stricter, much harsher kind of tone to him.
Really?
And so, yeah, so imagine how much impact animals have on you. And then imagine when you can communicate properly with the humans and your friends, stuff like that, how much impact they're actually having on you.
That's really interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
What else was he saying?
That's what I have, bro. That's what I know.
That's so interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard it in the khutbah. It really stuck to me because it's really profound. It really, really is profound, man.
You know what? On that topic, I was also really like taken back by having a conversation with one of our teachers, and he was saying that like different teachers have different personalities, and that's fine essentially, and you start to know what teachers to be around for what things and stuff like that. So essentially he was saying there's some teachers who are like super strict and like you just don't like mess about around them at all. You shouldn't mess around any teacher, but in the sense that like this, like the way they show their love and they're like taking you under their wing is by being really strict on you, and others are more like friends and stuff like that, and then adding on to that, and that's okay. Like I suppose like it's about adapting like according to each person. Like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would change how he would speak and stuff according to like the level of the person or who the person was and stuff like that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one piece of advice that really benefited me, I'll actually tell like I'll expose the people in this story, yeah. So a few years ago, I started becoming quite close to Sheikh Muhammad Tim, and I think you guys already know this story, but it's a beneficial story probably for people listening. So there was a period of time a few years back when I spent like a couple weeks with him traveling, and I got to like see him like just how he was in person. He would be driving me around everywhere because he had license when we were traveling, and I would see him at Fajr in the masjid and stuff. The only time obviously I didn't see him is because we were staying in separate hotel rooms, but like in the mosque in front of the hotel and stuff, like you'd see him there like for every salah and stuff. Anyway, the point being is that I speak to one of the brothers during that period of time, and I was like, I just want to study under the sheikh, and I feel like I could benefit so much from him, and like the way, because I could see how he behaves for 2 weeks straight traveling with him. It was really, I've never seen somebody, Allahumma barik, like just in all aspects of their character be someone who's like really just emulating the sunnah. Do you know what I mean? Like Allahumma barik is just amazing. So I was like, I just want to study with him, like, even if it was tarbiyah or whatever, like just anything, like any subject, Arabic, tarbiyah, like, lughat, like whatever. So, but this brother gave me some really amazing advice. He said, you know what, I've seen the relationship that you have with Sheikh Tim, and he said it's a really special relationship, Allahumma barik, that it's not easy to get, right? And he said, what I recommend you is that there's some teachers that you take on as your teachers, and there's other teachers that you kind of take on like almost like a friend. And he goes, you don't want to blur the lines between the two, because what will happen is the ones who are like, who you're more comfortable and friendly with, they will actually have a purpose in your life where you can talk to them about things that you can't talk to your teachers about, but also they will teach you how to be around your teachers. And so he was like, I recommend this special bond that you got with Sheikh Tim, keep it like this. So I was like, oh, wow, that's profound. I've never heard that. And so after that, I never even like brought it up with the Sheikh, like, oh, I want to study under you. But then I'd always kept that in mind. And so I remember one time I went to visit the Sheikh and I had a call with my actual teacher, Sheikh Mahmoud. I had a muhaditha class. It was online. I think it was like COVID times. And I saw this in action, bro. I saw this in action. So I said to the... I realised that I was going to miss my class. I was like, oh snap, like I have a class, I haven't heard of the class. I completely forgot about it. And I was with Sheikh Tim. And Sheikh Tim, I honour him, he was like, okay, look, call your Sheikh and say this to him. And say this in Arabic. And like he made like, the Sheikh made like a little like joke in Arabic. But then he was like, no, don't do that, because I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't joke with your teachers. And then like he kind of like coached me on like how to basically deflate this matter that I was about to miss a class. And that's when I realized that, wow, there's so much value in having some teachers that are like not your teachers, but you just can learn from like their from their actions and from their advice. Whereas like Sheikh Mahmoud is not going to tell me how to respect him, because that's not what teachers do. They're not arrogant. They're not going to be like, oh, this is how you should behave in front of me. You should just know how to behave in front of them. And the way you know how to behave in front of them is you almost get coached by other people and other teachers. So yeah, that's it's kind of like similar to what you were saying about the camel, like the animals and stuff. Like essentially, like different people have different personalities, and you got to learn how to gain different value from different personalities.
Yeah, man. It kind of reminds me of another story that I heard, where there was like two teachers and like a group of students, and one of the students was getting very close, like friendship, like the friendship was really growing between one of the students and one of the teachers, right? To the point where they were like traveling around together, just spending a lot of time together, and the student was sort of started calling his teacher just by his first name. And it had to be like a big discussion of like not the teacher himself didn't bring it up, but the other teacher did. There was two teachers involved. The other teacher sort of pulled him up on it and said, no, you can't, like, even if you like, you're kind of being a bit friend, like you can't do that. You've got to actually show respect still, even if you have sort of crossed that line towards like your friends type of thing. If you want him to continue being your teacher, he asked me a question, interesting question. Do you want him to continue being your teacher? Because if so,
that's the question. Yeah, Allah Akbar.
Yes,
that's the question.
That's it.
I've had that exact experience, bro. I've had that exact experience, and I know Only probably has as well. Huh?
Yeah. Do you remember the day? I remember the day
no, I can't. I remember I had it separately. So I had this. So Ustad Yahya was my Quran teacher. Yeah, before I left for Dubai. And and he'd been my Quran teacher now for like, let's say for 3 years. I was studying my Quran with him. And there was a period of time, bro, for like, I would see him every week. Yeah, I would submit to him. I would submit my. I should really give context there. I would submit my portion to him every week. Yeah?
Yes.
And then there was this period of time for like 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, maybe 12 weeks. Yeah, where I didn't have a class with him, and it was like it just wasn't happening. And so then what it is Sheikh Jamal, we were always close to Sheikh Jamal and Sheikh Yahya, yeah? But Ustad Jamal didn't specifically actually teach us, right? Or like in a formal manner necessarily, like with the Quran, right?
He did for a bit, man.
Yeah, there was this stint where we're in Badr, we studied Tarbiyah with him, yeah, you're right. But as in specifically as like your one-on-one teacher, when Ustad Jamal was never my like one-on-one teacher like that.
Sure.
And so but Ustad Yahya was. And so I remember speaking to Ustad Jamal, who was kind of more in this case, I suppose, like the teacher, the friend Ustad. I spoke to him, I said, like, I haven't had a class in ages. I almost feel like I haven't been able to get much contact with Ustad Yahya. Like, I miss my classes. Like, I don't really know what's happened. And Ustad Jamal said to me, he said, you have to earn your class. Like, because Ustad Yahya is gonna hate me saying this, yeah, but I'm gonna say it. Like we would never like pay for any classes with Ustad Yahya. Like he didn't really take on students. Like you have to really earn being a student like with him. And Only's experienced that way more than me. Like Only is the one, right, who kicked the door down for all of us. Like actually Only was like persistent, like I want to study with you, and Ustad Yahya was like, I'm not taking a student. And Only was like, no, I need to study. Like he would like go around different shiukhs like to get him to study. And then alhamdulillah, Only broke that door down, and then like we was able to come in it. So Ustad Jamal said to me, he said, my advice to you is invite the sheikh round, invite Ustad round, and speak to him and tell him you're gonna fix up. Like you're not going to come to every class like being like unprepared and this that the other. And then I did that, like from his advice. I called Ustad round, we had dinner and stuff, and I said to him, I want to talk to you about my my lessons. I feel like I don't know what's happened. So, and he basically said, like you need to be more like, he kind of gave me a disciplinary, but it took for me to see that he's like that my class aren't really happening, and then I had to clock it myself and then call him around and speak to him about, and it was like a whole process. But these processes grow you as a person because you realize. I know Only you probably have like a story like that as well, probably like.
Bro, we have a story. I thought you were going to mention a different story. You were there. I'm sure you were there.
I'm not.
When we started Badr and we started studying with Sheikh Yahya. And he was, we're very new to studying and the deen and everything like that. And he was like, my name is Yahya. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
People start,
out of humility, he was like, my name's Yahya.
Yeah, so he was like, no, Ustad. And he's like, no, he always used to say, my mother named me Yahya. And he still says that, my mother named me Yahya. So, call me Yahya kind of thing. And so we were studying with Sheikh Abid, and we were in class. And Sheikh Yahya came in, and somebody called him Yahya, or Sheikh Abid heard someone call him Yahya.
I do remember, yeah.
Stopped the class, and he was like, when Sheikh Yahya left, he said, what are you doing? You can't call no one like that. Like, one of your teachers, you're calling him by the first name. It's like really disrespectful. And so from that day, no one ever dared call Sheikh Yahya by his first name.
Yeah.
I think like with Ustad Yahya, like not the problem, but like one of the colluding factors was that for a lot of the brothers in that area, they grew up with him.
Yeah.
And so like there was like this like thing, but then once he becomes your teacher, there's like you can't look at it as I grew up with this person, which we didn't. So I think for us maybe it was a bit easier because we knew him. We only knew him as a teacher. But for those brothers, maybe it was a situation where they had to go, okay, I'm not looking at like who he is. I'm looking at the value that the knowledge that he's passed on to me. Like for example, like in this scenario, it was the Quran, because obviously Alhamdulillah, he's very knowledgeable with the Quran.
Alhamdulillah.
It's stuff like, but you only like how to be, like what you just mentioned on Liach is a really good point, is that when we started first studying, we didn't know how to be a student, and we didn't know there was a way to be a student, like that there's an actual like a tariqah. You know what I mean? Like there is like, and he would, and like even like we spoke about this on an episode before, but little things like facing the teacher, not having your back to the teacher, like, and like how the what was it that they were like, then we were told like loads of stories about how like, a student forgot his pen in class, like in like the Arab, or like a student forgot his pen or something, and the teacher like called his class. I can't remember what it was specifically, but there's obviously
he has a really wise way of teaching, and he never tells you like face to face that you're doing X, Y, and Z wrong. He waits for the perfect opportunity to kind of mention it. Do you remember the story when he was teaching in the masjid and everyone was like facing his feet towards him? Not everyone.
You told me that you said this story on Fashigandit.
Yeah, I might have.
Yeah, you did.
I have so much love for him, man. He's very wise, and he's very easy to learn from. He's like one of those people that when you're around him, you really learn a lot without him even saying anything. How he is, how he interacts with people, how he speaks, the stuff that he does. You learn a lot on how to be a good Muslim without him even opening his mouth yet.
Yeah, it's interesting because like we just mentioned that different teachers have different methods, right? Because Ustad Abdul Ahad, when I saw the Quran documentary, and like one student forgot, may Allah bless this brother, he forgot his but this brother is serious, and he forgot his mushaf, and Ustad sent him home. He said, don't forget your mushaf, sent him home. And at the time I didn't know Ustad, But when I watched that, I was like, I'm not ready for that kind of like discipline, man. Like that scares me.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, alhamdulillah, like, Ustad Yahya is so soft on us. But like, and then now that I know Ustad of the Ahad, yeah, and alhamdulillah, I know him very well, yeah. I always think about that. I'm so happy that he's like my friend teacher and not my like I'm studying under him, because I don't know if I could handle like his method is like very stern. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, but you know what the Ustad of Lahad, he's very definitive with the line. Even if you're because I know he's got people that he teaches that he's extremely close with, like in terms of friendship. But as soon as it's in the kind of the scenario of like a lesson or anything, those rules are present, bro. It applies to everyone. He's very strict with knowledge. As soon as you're outside of the realm of knowledge, he's your friend. He's your best friend. You can take advice from him.
Yeah,
he's very close to people. He is actually got like a really amazing definition between friendship and studying and teaching. It's a very clear line. It's lovely.
And it's again, you Faisal touched on it. It's half like, okay, teacher-student relationship should be respectful, should have certain boundaries, but it's mainly the fact that what's being taught, you know, it's respect for the knowledge, the ilm that's being taught. You know what I mean? So, and I think was it Imam Malik who he refused to teach the leader's son, right, at his house. Is that how the story goes? He wanted to be at their residence, so he was like, no, he's got to come to me. I think it was Imam Malik. And again, it's like, it's because of what's being taught. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be respect for that knowledge. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
You go to knowledge doesn't come to you.
That's it.
Yeah, man. I'm not sitting here on my like pious high horse, yeah, because like, man, like obviously we all know our true selves, and that's enough said in it. But there's one like concept that I think of very often, and I can't shake it off, right? And the concept is, it sounds really basic, but it's that we are all going to be judged by the same Lord. Okay, let's break that down. If we're all going to be judged by the same Lord, that means that, like, think about the greatest scholar, like living scholar of our time right now, yeah, whoever that is, yeah. But there's someone on this dunya right now who's like the greatest or the most knowledgeable person, like right now, or whatever. Like a very, you get what I'm saying? Like
the most righteous, isn't it? Yeah.
Someone has to be the most righteous. Yeah. Now, that person is going to be judged by the same Lord that we're going to be judged by, on the same, like we're all going to be judged on one day, on the day of judgment, right? If that's the case, yeah, then we need to stop thinking, even me, yeah, we need to stop thinking, oh, like being a scholar is for the scholars. Like, oh, that's them, like that's their level. I'm on different. No, Aki, like to an extent, fine, but we are going to be judged by the same Lord. Like we were all given the same opportunity. We were put on this planet, this dunya. We're put on this in this world, in this dunya. We're being tested in this dunya, and then we're going to go on day of judgment and be judged. Like, so the scholar had that opportunity. We have that opportunity. So if we're going to be 40 and 50 or 60, and like. Now, like, our aspirations was just to be a good dad and a family man, and then like die, and like, you know, I went to the masjid 5 times a day, kind of thing. It's like, but Akhi, like, you had an opportunity to become a hafidh of Quran. You had an opportunity to become a hafidh in the seerah, to become a hafidh in Islamic poetry, in to teach others. Like, why not? Right? Like, why did you not try and become a sheikh? Like, because you're not going to be judged by the Lord who judges the normal people, and then they're going to be judged by the Lord of the scholars. La akhi, la ilaha illallah. There's one Allah, and He's going to judge everyone. Like, we all have to turn to, like, we have to answer to Him. So that thought once in my mind, I looked, I'm like, brother, I need to fix up. Like, but bro, like, you lot obviously have seen that video in it of on AMAU of the 8-year-old who like recites poetry in Arabic. Little
son.
Oh,
the 8-year-old. I think it's an 80-year-old. I think I have that actually. I think I have. Yeah.
It's called Mini Motivation.
Yeah, I think that's his son.
I
think I've seen it.
May Allah bless him. It's like bro, he recites like 100. I believe he was 8 years old in the video, and he recited 100-line poem. And that 100-line poem was written by I don't know, some sheikh. That is a very famous poem. And the idea of that poem is that it makes you remember all of the key events of the seerah. and the kid and Allah Akbar, he's 8. Like, bro,
Yeah.
we can be why like subhanallah, that stuff.
Yeah.
It both scares me, excites me, and also wakes me up all at the same time.
One thing I'll add to that, yeah. Well, firstly, I haven't seen that. I think I've seen another one with a young brother, mashallah, who's reciting Quran. I think that's what I saw. Secondly, yeah. So some people, I know that's gonna scare them, yeah. It will scare them to feel like, man, okay, now I've got to add like being a scholar to my list of things to do. I would say like, do you know, seriously, because that used to cross my mind as well, and to an extent it still does. But I would say like, I wouldn't look at it like that. I would say, if Allah's gonna give you until 60, 70, 80 years old, you should at least be on the journey to seek far more knowledge than you have today, right? If you're 30 years old today, you may not have to actually become an actual scholar, but you should like, if you've got like another 50 years in you, that is plenty of time to become a hafiz. Do you know what I mean? Plenty of time. Why not?
Oh, and then some, yeah.
Yeah. So
And set realistic
why don't you
goals
just look
as
at it that way? Yeah, set realistic goals. And you don't have to become a scholar, but if you're 30, you don't have to be a scholar by age 35. It's basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah, just be on the journey, but be on the journey. And even if you're not doing it like as much as other people, at least be on that journey. So at least if you die, or you're going to die, at least when you die, you've been on that journey of learning, of trying to improve yourself, rather than just saying, okay, I know the absolute basics minimum, or maybe you don't even know the basic minimum, and that could be a tough place to be. But if you're trying every single day or every single week to push yourself like that, then it's something, and it's a good way to start, and then build yourself up from there, I think.
Yeah, man, that's very true, man. And in terms of like setting realistic goals, I think what I used to do was make goals for myself that weren't really realistic, and it was kind of naive of me to make certain goals. And so I spoke to Ustad Lahad one time, and I was speaking to him about Quran, my Quran journey, and he goes like, if you really reflect the goals that you're setting yourselves in terms of memorizing the Quran, they're not very realistic because you're so busy already. And so if you're trying to memorize the Quran in like 2 years, like, it's not really realistic. You're going to demotivate yourself. You're going to burn out. And then that journey might be extended way longer than if you had set realistic goals. So I sat down with him and I discussed my life as it is right now. And he gave me like a plan to say, these are the number of years that you should try to spend. And then if you don't memorize the Quran in these number of years, then it's not anything else. It's not the busyness, it's not anything else, but it's you, and you've let yourself down, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when we did that, it really opened my mind, man. I was like, I need to kind of pace myself rather than disappoint myself in doing it.
It's interesting that I agree with you so much, considering how I started this podcast, which is the whole blitzkrieg thing, which is like, just go like full blast. but in a way, what you just said is the real way. And to set, like, if you set yourself an unrealistic goal, because you know deep down inside when it's unrealistic, I'm going to memorize the entire Quran in 1 year. Go. Deep down inside, what my schedule looks like, whatever. It's not realistic. And so it's almost like, I think you mentioned something like similar like a few weeks ago, where it's like when you mention something, you get the what's that chemical?
The instant gratification of like almost as if you've done it, and then you don't want to do it.
Exactly.
You don't feel the need to
say
do
that.
It.
That's right. You say that, think, oh wow, what an amazing goal I've set myself. Pat myself on the back, and you barely even do anything. Whereas if you do have a more realistic goal, even if it takes longer, you're probably more likely to do it because you won't get that instant gratification, nor will you feel demotivated. So maybe what you said is still like going full guns blazing because it's more realistic. But yeah, it was interesting that the fact I was agreeing with you so much and thinking. Just like 20 minutes ago, you're saying the complete opposite. So what are you talking about? But there you go, man.
One thing that leads on to what you were saying just now, which is like the instant gratification thing. It kind of leads on to it is also trying to do as much of this in secret. Like nobody needs to know that you're trying to become a scholar. Like it's not a public thing that you need to. But what's better is that. You don't need to prove to anybody what you're doing, because it's like if you're, for example, trying to become a hafiz of the Quran. Why does anybody need to know that? Like, I can't. Maybe there is a bit. I'm sure there are benefits you could extract from it, but like generally speaking, like for most people, like there's no need for people to know, and and many other things. Like if you're like trying to study the seerah or like whatever it is that you're doing. So I think this is huge benefit also just doing things in secret, and then. Not surprising people, but like if it comes out, people are like, oh, raw, like guys do that because the goal is actually, if the goal is to become as pious as possible, so you can die upon piety, so that you can get Jannah, then piety isn't something that you self announce. It's something that it's maybe like a state of the heart, and then if your heart has that, it shows on the limbs naturally anyway. So I think like if you're doing it if you like, building in public is like such a big thing, obviously, like in the tech world and the startup world. But like if you're building in public, like with your iman, which I'm sure like all of us have been like guilty, or probably me as well, because I've been on camera every week for the last 6 years. But if you're building in public, like this is probably like one of those times where it's not a good idea to do that. Like just much it's secret, isn't it?
Also,
Agreed.
comparing yourself to people who you can't really compare yourself to, because your journey is extremely different and your circumstances are extremely different. So I think what I used to do in terms of setting myself goals was to be like, man, everyone around me is already hafiz of the Quran. But you're comparing yourself to the Sheikh Yahya, the Sheikh Abdul Had, the Sheikh Jamal, who memorized the Quran at 9, 10, 11, 12 years of age. And so when you start memorizing like 20 plus years and you're like, oh, I want to quickly do it and, you know, become hafiz, it doesn't really work. And that's comparing yourself can be very negative if you don't do it in the correct way. It can be very positive. You can find a lot of motivation in it, but if you don't apply it correctly, it can be quite demotivating, as I so found.
Yeah, I just had a point on that actually. But I've completely forgotten it now. That's annoying.
Hey, when that happens.
That is annoying because it was about comparison. It was a really good point as well.
What's it about?
I think it was about comparison. What did you say at the beginning? You said it was just about comparison, wasn't it?
Comparing
yourself to others.
Also, what you mentioned, Faisal, I can't remember the Sheikh who said it, but I think you've mentioned it to me before as well. Ustad Abdullah has mentioned it to me as well. The aim of our journey is to die upon the journey rather than reach the end of it, which is such a great big mercy if you really look at it, because you're not looking to be like, oh, I have to become hafiz of the Quran, but you have to be on the journey to become hafiz of the Quran to be able to reward it in that manner, if that makes sense.
Yes. That's what I was trying to say earlier, but you said it much more beautifully than me.
No, you did say it, Kai. I think
you must have sparked my thoughts.
In that case, only you just put
yeah.
Nah, you said it much more beautifully, mashallah.
Oh man, I'm just so annoyed that I can't remember this thing. Which is
another point I was going to say. You keep thinking, Faisal, because I was going to say something. Yeah,
you stay there, Faisal.
What you said about like comparing yourself, like I was going to say, my initial reaction to what you said on Only, was that's why it's probably good to actually have a mix of friends who, like, some of them are a little, like, a bit behind you on certain things. But then I thought, in fact, that's not good, because as you said, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to anybody anyway, whether they're behind you, at the same level, ahead of you, really. You take inspiration from those who are better than you in the deen, for sure, but it shouldn't really be comparison to the point of, like, degrading oneself or feeling bad like that. Which is the connotation of comparison, isn't it, really? Oh, they're here and I'm there. And again, in deen, it's good because you want to race them to good deeds and stuff. But yeah, I think you need to be careful about, like, just comparing in that sense, rather than just, like, taking inspiration from. I guess it's just like everyone in your life's got, like, a role in it. Like, if they're better than you, you take inspiration. If they're not as good as you in some aspects, then the role of them is for you to just, like, help them, or for you to take lessons from them anyway, that kind of thing. And, like, comparison, I think, like, just, like, don't compare to anybody.
This is what
I was going to say. I remembered.
No, you have to hold it, bro.
No, I can't. It took too long. Right, what I was gonna say is okay. I was gonna say, you know how, like, for example, right, you check your weight, like, you stand on the scales and you check your weight, and you're like, raw, like, in the last 2 months I've let myself go a bit, like, I put on quite a bit of weight. I was gonna say that we should be doing that with our iman, like, every now and again we should go, raw, like, 3 months ago I was actually, like, in hindsight, I was actually doing what I was reading every day, my portion, this, that, the other. I've let myself go. And then what happens when you stand on the scales is you start going, like, cool, I'm going to start a diet, or I'm going to, like, fix up again. I'm going to make some lifestyle changes. But we should be doing that with our iman, going, wow, like, my man's actually dropped. I didn't even clock, because when you put on weight, you don't clock until you clock. Same with iman, you don't clock until you clock, and then you're like, all right, cool, I've clocked it now. Let me make some lifestyle changes. So we should probably have, like, those. And other thing is, bro, is like your iman, So like your weight, people don't really tell you when if they clock that your iman drop really. Like, you know, like people like, no one's gonna be like, oh bro, like you put on a bit of weight. No one really says that, bro. Come on, like, because that's rude. So likewise with iman, people don't really like. Yeah, you should have friends who are like, akhi, I saw you. But the drop, if you're like a certain level of Muslim, inshallah, the drop of your iman shouldn't be that bait to others anyway. It should be like something that you know yourself. Yeah, so it's like people might not pull you up on it because they might not even know. Like, bro, think about it. Yeah, in the past year, 12 months, how many times your iman has felt sky high and how many times it felt like rock bottom. But on your outward appearance, you've looked the same, or like your behavior or your actions have been the same. You've still been going to the masjid and stuff like that. So the iman thing is internal. So you have to check yourself. And I think that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And then also try and find like sometimes if you're lucky, you can even pinpoint one of like a key reason. So it could be like, for example, that a certain individual has you haven't been staying in contact with a certain individual, and that certain individual had a good impact on you, or like you've clocked that you maybe like stopped a certain class. Well, a big one for me is the content you intake. So I might intake content, like for example, when I drop my son to school, I've got like half an hour journey there, half an hour journey back. That's 1 hour of content I'm intaking. Now, if I'm listening to a business podcast for that hour, in my head I'm like, all right, cool, I'm not doing anything haram, so what I'm doing is halal. I'm intaking halal content, so it's calm. But bro, imagine if just for like one of those journeys, so for half an hour of that journey, I'm intaking like a seerah class or something. What you're doing is that idea of like you are who you surround yourself around. Nowadays in this digital world, that also can include your content, the content that you're consuming. And so yes, all good listening to a business podcast, but if you're listening to a business podcast so much that you're not now listening to a class, it's like, bro, just give yourself a class, because you'll become like that class. Like when that sheikh is saying something, it will hit you, and then you start behaving like that. So sometimes there's not even an excuse that like, oh, I'm not around pious brothers. Like, well, are you around pious content?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true, man. And I've caught myself in similar situations, and I've heard of like, you know, there's dangers in like the mubah in it, where it's like it's not impermissible, nothing wrong with listening to, again, business podcast, but when you get into that habit, it's like, wow, I'm spending like 1 or 2 hours a day listening to something that actually doesn't benefit my akhirah at all. It's like, wow, that's a lot of time.
I was reading into this book last week, or 2 weeks ago. I finished a whole book in a week. A whole book, like, listening, like Audible. Bro, if I could finish a whole book in a week, like, I have time to finish a whole, like, lecture series in a week or something.
Yeah, man. It's so true. It's so true. And you do sort of trick your mind to think, oh no, it's about business, or it's about history. I'm learning. It's like, but yeah, you're learning, but really and truly, like, what you're doing, like, is it that beneficial for you to spend hours and hours listening to that? So yeah, it's dangerous, man. Even the stuff that's not necessarily impermissible in and of itself, you got to balance of it.
Question, that might be beneficial for some viewers. If you find yourself like your iman is not dripping, dipping, your iman is dipping, and you find yourself, let's say you're watching this kind of content, business podcast, this podcast, that part, nothing necessarily haram, but nothing necessarily very beneficial towards your deen, and you don't feel like watching the dini kind of things, how do you bring yourselves back to, you know, do you try to force yourself, do you try to do something else, do you try to make dua, do istighfar, what do you do to kind of get back in the, because sometimes akhi, it's very difficult to consume Islamic content, because you, like, if your heart's not ready for it, or if your iman is not in even a high enough place to want to watch it, it's very difficult to consume it and to benefit from it. So how do you guys do it?
I've got an answer to this question, that Sheikh Tim's answer to this question.
Then that's better than, go for it.
So this isn't my answer, but this exact question was put to Sheikh Tim, and he answered it, and I think his answer was really good. He said, what I tell people is, when your iman is low, just do the actions that are easy for you, like habitual for you. Yeah, like everyone has types of worship that naturally they find easy. Yeah, so for some people it might be praying, like waking up for tahajjud, like they don't struggle with waking up out of their sleep. Or for other people it might be reading the Quran. For other people it might be listening to lectures. But whatever, you know, what acts of worship that other people might find hard, you find sadaqah. You might be like, bro, for me, like, I don't feel that, you know, like how you got to give sadaqah. Like sometimes when you give sadaqah, like for some people it really hurts to give sadaqah, but for you, you're like, I can give a hefty amount and it doesn't hurt me that much because I just feel like I know that Allah like doesn't like make me lose. If that's you, give the sadaqah. So he's saying when your iman is low, do the things that are easy. Yeah. When your iman is high, go extra and do things that are like leverage your high iman and do bigger acts of worship, so that when your iman is low, when it's high, you raised what was easy for you, because that's how it works. So then what will happen is when your iman is high for a period of 6 months, like, and so you're now reading like a juz a day, yeah. For 6 months, your iman is high, so you're reading a juz a day. What then happens is when your iman is low, you got the habit of reading a juz a day, so it's not even gonna be hard for you to read a juz a day anymore. So you'll still carry it on because it's easy for you. And what happens is every time your iman is high, you raise the bar, you raise the bar, raise the bar, and the hopes is that when your iman is low, as you go on, it never goes past a certain low. So that was his answer. I thought that was a really good one.
That's a really lovely balance.
That is a great answer. That is a great answer. I will give my answer that I was going to give, which is not as good, but like on a specifically of like, how do you get back in that habit? Yeah, I would say there's so much. Alhamdulillah, there's so much content on YouTube. Yeah, Islamic content from good, students of knowledge and shuyukh that are spanning so many topics. Right, so you could specifically dive into like just again like things like the jinn, for example. So let's say, for example, you're like, you listened to the lecture for like a good month and a half now. You're struggling to get back in, bro. Jinn, like people find out that interesting. What's a jinn? What a jinn? Da, 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 da. Or again, Sheikh Tim has tons of stuff on that. Or there's other things like it could be like maybe the battles, right? The battles in the early Muslim expansion. Maybe that appeals to you.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah. Go and listen to things like that, where it's like it gets you back in, and it's like as you listen to that, you just get there. Before you know it, you're listening to things that are more like fiqh and aqidah, things like this. So yeah, I would say that like just get these sort of fringe topics.
That's a really good point, because that's made me think that maybe you could even go, okay, when I first started practicing, because when you first start practicing, you're not listening to knowledge-based content. You're listening to kind of like iman boost kind of content. So that's what you just said reminded me of what I used to listen to when I first started practicing, and that I used to enjoy listening to the stories about the Sahaba. So there was this series on like there was like this series on maybe like Merciful Servant or something, where they would compile all the different shuyukh, all the different lectures that exist, and they put it into one. And so like there'll be like a story about like there'll be like the life of Khalid bin Walid, and like it would just be like you'd hear like Mufti Mek's voice, and then you hear like Bilal Asad's voice, and like it was just like it'd be like, and then he said, and then like someone else would carry the and they would just show like images, like videos would be of like stock video, but it was really good. And so I finished a lot of like Sahabis like life stories like that, and so actually that's. Now that you say that, next time I'm going to do that, like, because that's really easy to listen to. That's really easy to listen to. It's like, Umar, he was born like this, and then, then he was doing this, and then he went to, it's like almost like a story. And those lectures, like, they are like kind of like Iman boosty ones. They're not doing it from book. It's like telling the story of someone's life. And then he went to the battle, and in the battle, like, they were surprised that this happened. It's like, oh,
with that sound effect, like,
that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
And I guess that's the advice, man.
And one day he went after the masjid, after Fajr, he went to the blind woman's house. And they said to him,
the little humming in the background. And again, like there's levels. Obviously, again, I know one brother. He's sort of starting to practice. He's back in London. Like he's starting to sort of like try and gain some knowledge. Yeah, most of the stuff he's watching is like Speaker's Corner type stuff, right? And it's like on one hand, I'm like, bro, not the best way to learn stuff, and if anything, it could actually be bad. But at the same time, like when I look back, like what I started with is like, some of that, these sort of debates between, Muslims and atheists kind of thing. It can sort of help people get onto that next stage. Yeah, it gets to the next stage.
I don't know why. Like I was never. Yeah, you did, didn't it? I was never intrigued by that stuff, man. You know what it was for me, bro? It was like, for me, it was like, I personally don't see the benefit in that, because alhamdulillah, I never doubted whether Islam was true or whether Allah was true. It was just like maybe like you struggle to practice. So I was like, why would I want to open myself up to that? Like, why would I want to open myself? Because bro, no one and bro, do you know what? Actually, yeah, this is a piece of advice I was actually given as well. This is very like, hopefully maybe it'll benefit one person. Yeah, one sheikh gave me this advice. He said, you got to be careful about opening yourself up to like things that you don't need to, right? Like, let's say if it's not a fitna for you, yeah, then no human on this planet is free from falling into fitna. So why open yourself up to things like, there might be people who need to watch that stuff or like it benefits them, whatever, or like you said, draws them close to Allah, it's fine. But if you are a person where you're like, there's certain things that for you it's like he said, what did he say? He said no one, he said like, I'm not, this guy was a sheikh and he was like, I'm not free from doubts. He was like, I'm not free from falling into doubts. So he said like, don't open yourself up to things that like could cause doubt if you don't need to, because you're not free from it. Just because right now you feel like, I'm secure on this thing, it could seep into your head. So if you don't need to like, so I found that quite beneficial actually. But yeah, but for some people that stuff is beneficial. I know like a lot of people who like watch Speaker's Corner videos, like you said, and then like they really benefited from that stuff. So I think like everybody knows themselves individually, isn't it?
Yeah, but even now,
videos
go on,
right at the beginning in uni.
What's that?
Remember those?
What videos?
Miracles of the Quran. I used to love that stuff, man.
Yeah, you used to like that.
You
stuff,
watch them?
Yeah. I don't know. The videos that I used to like was always like story based, like it was either story based or like like just inspiring stories, I think.
You know when you first started practicing, how much Quran did you listen to or /read in like the first, like, it's hard to say obviously because I'm not first started practicing, like first like researching, I guess.
No, Quran was
it mainly
like later in the journey for me. It was later in the journey.
Yeah, it was. I kind of found that for myself.
Arabic or like English translation.
Arabic, like as in like actually listening to the recitation and like trying to understand it and seeing like a translation of it type of thing. At first it was like these sort of like videos, and then I would listen to that, and then once I listened to that, like a new level, man. It was like, wow, subhanallah. Like I've been watching videos of shuyukh talk about the Quran for a couple of months, and now I'm listening to it. It's like, wow, it's like I understand, like it's a new level, man. Did you get that or not really?
That's the feeling I had with the miracles of the Quran, though, because I was just left so amazed at how are these things mentioned. I was so amazed by that. So I really went into like going into all the miracles, really looking into them, and it really boosted my iman at that time, man. Alhamdulillah.
I remember. So I could. When I started practicing, I couldn't read Quran, right? Like I started reading Alif Ba Ta when I was like 22, and so I couldn't read the Quran before that. And so I remember the first time I finished the Quran, and it was in Ramadan, like maybe like, I don't know, 4 years ago or something, Ramadan, yeah. And I will never forget this, akhi, yeah. I was just like so determined that I'm going to finish the Quran. I'm going to start and finish the Quran in Ramadan, yeah. And, subhanAllah, it was like the 26th, 27th day or something, yeah. And I was finishing it, and I was like 4 pages, no, not 4 pages, maybe like, I was like halfway through Juz Amma, yeah. So, I've never told anyone this story is fine. I don't even know if I've got to tell the story, because like sometimes like it's better as a secret, but I've started it, so I was like halfway through Juz Amma, so I knew, it's just half of Juz Amma, like, and by then I knew Juz Amma, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely finishing this Quran in the next 15 minutes or something, 10 minutes, yeah. And that half of Juz Amma, the whole half of that Juz, I recited crying at like the top of my lungs, like I was struggling to get the words out. I was like crying through that whole thing. And my wife came in, because when I got married, actually, I couldn't even read. Like my father-in-law, he was like, may Allah bless him, he let me marry his daughter, like, because he's like on like 5 times a day in the masjid. He's like, my father-in-law was like, you can't read like any Quran. I was like, no, I can't. So, akhi, my wife walked in here because she heard me crying. I don't think we had kids at the time. Yeah, we didn't have kids. So she walks in now, and she's like, she's not in a way where it's like she's like doesn't want me to read the Quran, but like she could see how much it's affecting me, and she was trying to talk to me while I was reading, and I was like ignoring her because she was saying to me, she was like, look, just get, like, take a break, like just stop for a minute, just stop, like collect yourself and then carry on, but like it's okay, you could take a break. And I was just like, it was like someone was just saying, but I couldn't. I was just like, I'm about to finish. I was like crying like so loud, and then that I will never forget the moment. And I was like 24 years old, bro, 24, 25. I finished Quran for the first time, and I've never had such a good feeling in my entire life. I don't think I ever will.
Allahumma barik, man. May Allah make make you finish the Quran 500 more times and even more. Ameen.
Actually, you know what? Going back to the point of having companions and encouraging one another. I think you mentioned that story now. I remember. I think you were the one who pushed me to finish the Quran during Ramadan. Did I go off?
I can't remember. Yeah, you went off for a second. Yeah.
Sorry.
You're paused now.
Can you hear me?
What? Yeah, give me a second.
You are paused.
All right, so we're back. We got you back after that glitch. Oh,
so
yeah. I thought you froze again. It's all right, bro. We're not seeing lag on your for us.
Yeah, it's all good.
Fine. You guys keep freezing for me as well for some reason. Anyway, what I was saying was that the story that you told, Akhi, may Allah bless you, because I think you were the one who really encouraged me to finish the Quran during Ramadan around that same time, and so I was like, man, Faisal was about to like finishing. I have to like be with him as well. I need to finish as well. So Allahumma barik, man. May Allah bless you. Because of you, Akhi, I hope you get loads of rewards.
I mean, that's like, you know, like the mushaf that I have, yeah. My one of my good friend, the first guy like I did itikaf with and stuff, like he gifted me this mushaf. It's my first ever mushaf, and so like all my books I left in London, but I bought this mushaf because I was like, I want to like I want him to get the reward for when I read that mushaf and stuff, man. So
yeah, the one that I have, you gave me as well.
Oh really?
You gifted me that. Yeah.
I stole his idea because I remember at one point,
I did the same thing. I gifted it to people as well.
Yeah, because bro, he like I asked him, I was like, what mushaf is it that like you use? And he showed me, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna grab it. And I was like, going into the shop, he's like, bro, do not grab that mushaf. And I was like, I'm getting it for you. I was like, what? Like, but yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm grateful that he has, because like he's the one who like taught me how to like read the halal logo. Like I couldn't even read that. So yeah. Anyway, guys, we should end this podcast because that's gone way over. Thank you so much for your time, for your times. Only for you, it's still like daytime, right? Or is it?
Bro, it's 6:30 now. I mean, it's past Maghrib.
You got your whole evening.
I haven't even.
What are you doing? You got any plans?
Got a lot of work to do, bro.
Shawarma.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean,
for lamb shawarma.
Yeah,
that's funny. I had steak on chips today.
Man.
Steak on chips.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was reacting to Faisal's steak on chips dinner. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying I feel really bad for him, man. Like I think he knows what Fisher Grinder does. So he might be watching this. He is. I'm really sorry, bro.
The worst part is like it sounds like he may have been able to get past the fact he's biting. He'll cut that part off and he'll go to eat the rest. And apparently it's the worst shawarma ever. So it's like, mate,
yeah,
couldn't catch a break that day.
Yeah. Right. This is what I had.
Oh yes, okay.
Steak on fries. Steak on fries. What you doing? Looking impressed?
Yeah,
nice.
I had this last year. It's nice. I think it's nice. Do you think it's nice?
It's very good. But they also have it in Last Exit Khawanij.
Yeah, sorry, but I didn't get it. I got it from Glow Village last year. It was nice.
It's very, very
also
nice.
A nice.
You have to be hungry for it.
But the best thing in Glow Village. Yeah, but best thing in Glow Village. I guess we'll chat about it another time. Yeah, there's a Thai or like Chinese area, like, and last time was.
Is like on the river?
Yes, that one. Yeah. Their best food is on there, man. They do all the noodles and rice stuff. It's so good. I can't wait to go back.
Did I tell you about being allergic to fish?
No, but that makes so much sense because you hate fish. Are you allergic?
Bro, no,
really?
Recent. it's a funny story. I'll say it next time. I think I'll put it on the ENAT doc.
Oh, no, I want to hear.
Fine.
I want to hear. All right, go on. Fine.
It's interesting because it's so weird. It's such a weird story.
Just tell it quickly.
Alright.
Do
Well,
the
right now,
TLDR.
I'll
Yeah.
keep going.
No,
Right.
just give us the TLDR.
Actually, so as you know, ever since like I don't know, long time ago, yeah, I've never really liked fish
Yeah.
predominantly because of the smell. The fishy smell puts me off, right?
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I used to eat fish. I could eat fish. I was fine with X, Y, Z. So something in my childhood must have happened for me to have some sort of trauma where I just don't like fish anymore and I don't really eat it. But what I can eat now, I kind of work myself up to it, is fish that doesn't taste fishy. So remember that day we had sushi, Faisal? You forced on me. You even made a video about it.
Yeah.
I can do that, like even salmon one, because it doesn't taste or smell very fishy, right? But if you cook salmon, I can't do it because it's just very fishy. So I can do like cod, fish and chips and stuff like that, for example, right? So one day I'm coming home from work on a Friday evening, and my mum has brought fish and chips from like this place near our house. Is really good. And so I had some of the fish and some of the chips and stuff like that. And so that night, and this is really soon after I dislocated my left shoulder. So this night I'm itching and I don't know what it is. Yeah, my body's itching. I'm trying to itch. I'm trying to scratch, and I can't reach certain points of my back because I've just dislocated my shoulder, so I can't.
Because your hand, and because your hand.
reach.
We all have the exact issue.
It's
Yeah.
really frustrating.
Yeah,
You know, because I can't sleep properly. I'm like, man, why am I itching? Well,
Oh no, we
Oh,
lost
no.
it again. I'm like,
It's like a cliffhanger,
guys,
man.
we're gonna have to finish that story next week. Because
Tune in next week, guys.
Oh no, we're
shopping.
Oh wait.
Huh? Did I cut off?
we cut
cut off,
off.
we cut
Yeah.
Is it? Where did you guys hear last?
Okay, so you were itching and you couldn't reach your itch.
Yeah, you're scratching. Yeah.
I was itching. I couldn't reach my itch. It's really frustrating. I can't really sleep. I'm thinking, so what's happening? I have no idea. It's the middle of the night. Next day, I'm going shopping with my mum to buy some stuff for Zaha and stuff like that, and go and drop it off to Zaha. Yeah? So I'm like, we need something really quick. I don't have much time. We have to get something really quick. So at the same time, I'm trying to go to the gym and stuff. So I'm trying to be semi-health conscious. So I'm like, okay, fine. The only thing we can do drive through realistically is McDonald's. So I'm fine. I'll have a fillet of fish.
Fine.
I'm like, I'm not gonna have any chips. I'm not gonna do chips, no drink, no nothing. So what I'll do instead is I'll do 2 fish.
For 2 McFlurries,
Yeah.
Sunday, double chocolate cookie.
Go on.
So I'm
then.
like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 fillet of fish and no chips, no nothing. So I'm doubling down on the fish.
That's your regular order, but whatever.
No, it's not, bro.
That is, in Cardiff, you used to have the same thing, but gone.
No, we did that was a challenge thing, bro. Stop it. Don't expose us. So, bro, I have these 2 fillet of fish here, and bro, my whole body is mad. It's itching. My whole body's itching. My head is itching.
no.
My beard is itching.
Really?
I'm like, what?
Your beard
And
is itching. Your beard is
Bro,
allergic to
it's-
fish.
Bro, inside. And the only thing I'm thinking, and the only reason I knew it was fish is because I had fish last night, and I had the same thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't had fish for a long time before this, by the way. So it was as if Allah allowed me to have fish 2 very close times to be certain that this is the reason, this is the thing that you're allergic to. And so I found out I'm allergic to fish, man.
How interesting is that? You probably got 8 fish when you were younger that puked, and it was like in your head that you didn't even know. Like, I'll try to eat fish again. That's probably why you were like in it.
Probably,
you must have
yeah,
probably
yeah.
had something like that. Something like
But
that.
also,
I don't know.
allergies can grow as you get older. Like, I remember like, in childhood, Omar didn't really have any allergies, but like now he's allergic to most fruit, fish, like, but not like he's allergic to so many things. So
Really?
I think you can like grow in allergies, maybe.
Yeah, you
so
definitely
weird.
you can. I've heard that.
Now I
that
can confidently say, sorry guys, I can't have fish, I'm allergic. I don't
yeah,
have
exactly.
to- I don't take it.
That thing about not being able to reach your back, it reminded me of when I, like a few years ago, I watched this video of this bodybuilder, Mike Thurston, and he was like doing a tour of his like Dubai apartment or something, and he's explaining this issue. Yeah, he was like, you know, basically like I can't sleep on a normal mattress because like my back is so big. He was being serious, like he wasn't trying to like flex.
I believe it.
Yeah, because my back is so big. Like, if you sleep on your back on a normal mattress, like it really hurts. So, like, I've had to get like this, like huge, like double mattress, like it's like padded with this and that, the other, like because like, and I can't sleep on my back and stuff like that. Like, and I was like, what a problem to have. Like when your back is so big, like you can't sleep in certain positions. Like I can sleep anyway, bro. Like that's bad. I can sleep in anyway. Like, yeah. Do you know what, bro? I miss. Alhamdulillah. Like the sunnah is there for a reason, and so like alhamdulillah. Like I wouldn't change it for anything. But before like if I ever catch myself sleeping on my stomach, I'll shift, right? Because I'm like, you shouldn't sleep on your stomach. But sometimes, like, I think to myself, like sleeping on your stomach is super comfortable, isn't it? But
when you say stomach, do you mean like proper on your stomach? Because sometimes I'm on my side, but I'm kind of like on the stomach a little bit, but still on the side.
I have that. I'm like, am I on my side or on my stomach?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So when I'm on that, I try to fix it. But I've never like slept proper on my stomach. I don't think that's comfortable.
You know what? I have that thought, man. Like sometimes I'm kind of on my side, kind of myself. Like, am I going into sunnah here? Like, I don't know.
Like your underneath leg is like on its front, and it's like
it's just
I'm kind of twisted up here. But this on your side, like fetal position is like it is good, man. It is the most comfortable when you actually get into that position, and I think it's the most healthy.
Oh mate, everyone's cutting off. Right, that's it. Everyone seems to be cutting off, so I'm going to end the podcast. I lost you there for a second.
Fine. Yeah, fine. Let's cut it because I think I'm cutting off. Yeah.
Oh, it says that I'm offline.
Everyone's fine for me now. I think Only is not frozen for me. Everyone's cool for me now, but it's definitely a bit dodgy today. Yeah,
that's fine. We'll cut it here. We've had a nice long episode. It's 10:40 p.m. So I would like to put it out today because Sunday night's a good time to upload. But realistically, by the time I've done the thumbnail and the edits, it's going to be out tomorrow. So this episode will be out tomorrow, inshallah. Episode 299.9.1 or whatever. Thank you so much for your time. Only, it was lovely to catch up with you. Haven't seen you in a long time, so look forward to seeing you inshallah in December. Kaya might end up in the UK, so let's see.
Inshallah, we'll meet up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care. See you soon. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.